All right, guys, so thanks for joining me again. We're just going to go over some of the vector layer possibilities for you in your base mapping operation. In my last tutorial, we just went over quickly how to use quick map services to create your first underlying base map. I'm using Esri Satellite right here. Let's get rid of that for a second. Remove the layer. Remember, when we are working with GIS programs, we're just removing the layers. We're not deleting. It's okay to do that. So what we did was, let's get rid of that. You go to, first you install QuickMap services and plugins, and then you have your icon here, and you can just simply bring that up, click on that, and you can find a few that they have set up, or you can click on the searching icon and you can find many other types of base map to use. And we'll just double click on the Esri satellite, and there we have it. And remember that we are now in the EPSG 3857 CRS, which is the base CRS for quick map for OpenStreetMap and Google Map. So these are all tiles that we can quickly surf through and look for our area of interest. So let's go ahead and use the geocoder again, and we'll use that geocode. We'll find an address. We'll go look for Spooner, Wisconsin, and it's right there. And so in my last tutorial, I tried to zoom in on a point, which I had never done before, and it doesn't actually work. If you right click on here, zoom to layer, oh, that's the wrong one. Right click on the geocoded plugin result, zoom to layer. It's going to center on your point. It's not going to zoom in on a point. I suppose that is because it does not have a bounding box that it can zoom into. It is an infinite point in space. So, but we can, once it's centered like that, you zoom into layer. You can go down to the scale down here, but you can also, in magnifier, you can magnify it too. I don't ever really change that because I always want it to be at 100% magnification. But over here, we can change the scale. For instance, let's bring it down to there. And if we want to, we can change the entirely scale and bring it down to 4 million, let's say. Or even down to 400. And then we're close into the street here. Let me zoom back out. We can zoom with the middle mouse too. That's fine. But sometimes when you zoom with the middle mouse, it'll get off center. So I generally tend to use the scale if I want to be very accurate on that. So let's zoom out a little bit, and then we'll move over to a place that we can pretend is the farm that we're working on. And we'd like to have a river and a road as well, some other things. Let's say we are learning about this field here. So there are 3 different types of vector layers that we can use. The point, the line, and the polygon. And in fact, that is in general what other vector programs use as well. The point is the fundamental geometry that helps us understand and utilize every other type of geometry. The point defines every geometry. A point is an x and y coordinate, and in other vector programs it is a coordinate according to the canvas. In GIS it is a coordinate according to the planet. And then a line is a series of points connected by a line, and a polygon is a series of points that ends on the same point, and that is a polygon. Okay, so what we're going to do is try each of those different vector layers out using shape files, which is in general what you're probably going to be using in your base mapping endeavor. So what we want to do is go up to the new shapefile layer, and again, like I said in the last tutorial, you can choose other types of vector layers, and you can just use a temporary scratch layer as well. We'll just use a temporary scratch layer right now. We'll call this one field. The geometry type we're going to be using is a polygon. We're not going to be including the z dimension or the m values. We're going to want to have our CRS and the 3857. We are going to add the nice thing about starting with a shapefile is that they already have the ID set up for you. But in every vector layer, we want to have at least an ID and a name. And as I pointed out in the last tutorial, you can also add things like an area ID. We'll add the ID. It'll be a whole number. We'll add that to the field, and we'll add a name. And it will be a text. And we'll bump that up to like 60. And we'll add that. And then we'll start with that. So here's the field layer. Now we can go ahead and click on the toggle editing to have that saved, but there's nothing in it, so that would be pointless. So we open it back up. And let's just go ahead and use this imagery to define the field. So we're going to be on the editing, and we're going to add the polygon feature. So this is a loose polygon. We'll just go around the outside edge inside these little bits of trees here. Just do that. Looks like there's some buildings as well. And you'll be doing this with whatever field that you'll be using. So then we right click and the saving dialog comes up, and the ID we can add that, and that'd be 1. The name will be field 1. So then we have our polygon. It's usually outlining fields, areas, we're using polygons. If we're delineating where roads go, we're using lines. If we're delineating where small features go, such as houses or a stop sign or a electrical box, we're using points. So let's add a point. We'll do a new scratch layer. We'll call it buildings. And then we'll add the point layer. Make sure we're in the 3857. We're not including the Z or M dimensions. The ID field. Again, if you're starting with a shapefile, that will be already there. ID will be a whole number. You add that. We'll add another field, and we'll name that name. We'll put that at 60, and we'll add that field. And then we are going to add a couple points. So to add a point, you go up to Add Point feature. ID will be 1. The name will be barn. And then we'll do this 1, 2, and we'll do 2. And the name will be house. So there we have our 2 point features. And then let's say we want to delineate the river as well. So we're going to add a line feature. Geometry type, line string or line. We're not adding those. We're changing that again. Again, we want to add an ID, whole number, and a name. Text. And then what we'll do is we'll create the middle line, the center line of the river using this imagery. And then we go up to Add Line feature. And we'll start here. And this is just eyeballing it, of course. This isn't accurate surveying. This is base mapping for other planning uses. So let's just get that down there, down to the bridge. And then ID 1, I can name all these, or I can assign one value to each of these IDs because they're different layers. But if they're in the same layer, you'd want to add consequential numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. Or if you don't add anything, you don't have to add that. You can go back into the attribute table and add them retrospectively before you start editing them. And we're just going to call that river. And then actually we're going to add a point right here to delineate where there is a bridge or a culvert. We'll just call it bridge. So we'll go back over to our buildings layer, and we'll rename that because it's not going to be just buildings now. It's going to be feature points. And what we're going to do is go back up here. We're already in the edit mode. So we just simply click our point here. And now we have 1, 2, 3 3 features in this layer. So we will add a name bridge. And that is the basic operation to create point, polygon, and line. But let's just take a little moment here to see what else we can do with this. Obviously the field, let's give each of these a label. So the river, let's go to the labels. So you double click on the layer and you come up with the layer properties. And then we're going to go to labels, and then we're going to add single labels. And then we're going to use the name feature from the 2 features that we named. We're going to use the name feature. Apply that, and it looks like we got something and it's too dark. Let's change that to there, and there you go, river. So you can tell with the darker background, you need a lighter text. And let's do that with the other layers as well. No label. And the nice thing about QGIS is when you are in a specific area, it comes up when you hit another layer. When you double click on another layer, you'll still be in that same area. So no labels, single labels, name. Easy peasy. And again, you can't see them very well. So let's go ahead and change that to white. And let's do the field as well. No labels, single labels. Change the text color. Apply that. So all of these are labeled. Another thing you can do is get length or area. So we'll go ahead and we'll click on the river, one click, and then we're going to open up the attributes. This is the attribute table icon. So what we have is one river, we have one ID. And what we want is the length as well. So that length will be in whatever the CRS, whatever we've set up for this project. Let's do that first. Project properties. Let's take a look at general settings and find out what our measurements are. Units for distance measurement are meters right now. So we'll go ahead and just use meters. That's fine. Area measurements are also square meters as well. So map units are meters, and now we know what the unit of measurement is. So we're going to go ahead and one click on river to make sure you're on that layer, and open up our attributes. We're going to add an attribute of length. So we can go to, there's a few ways to do it, but let's just go ahead and add field. We'll call this length. We will make it a decimal number with the precision of 2. Now, there's nothing in that. It's null. It's not 0, it's null, which means nothing. There's nothing in there. What we want is length of that river section, at least. So what we're going to go to is the length attribute. And then in here, we're going to add expression length. Can I spell it? Yes, I can. Length. And then we're going to update all, and we're going to get the length. 1,000 meters. 1,036.78 meters. And then we're going to save that. You can also save as you go. Save edits here when it's in edit mode. And then what we want actually is to put that length onto that line. Okay, so yeah, there's a little hiccup there. What we're going to need here is to create an expression with the name and the length. But in between that, we need a concatenation, and we are going to want a space as well in between those. So space, boom, boom, and we will want something to represent the unit of measurement, which will be m. And again, a space in there too. So that will give us a little label with a little bit more information on that river section. And we'll do that with the field as well. So double click on the field, or actually don't double click, click on it once. Open up your attribute field. Make sure you are in edit mode. And then we're going to add a field. You can also use the field calculator. Add a field, call it area, whole number. Let's use a whole number instead of a decimal number. And we'll go to that area, and we're going to add an expression area, update all, and this will be in square meters. And then you can go ahead and save that. And you can see sometimes when you save the area, the expression you just created goes to null, and I'm not sure why. And I've never really, I don't understand why that happens. So just be aware of that. If something starts to not go correctly, just check that. Did that save correctly or not? So then we're going to want to change the labeling on that as well. So name, concatenation, area, and that was square meters. So another concatenation, square meters, the space, and again we want, that will actually work fine right there. And there we have that. So that of course is extremely ugly, and there's many different ways to change the styling. So what we're going to do is just do a quick change of styling and do a gradient of green. We're going to actually put this into, we're going to do the outline in black. We're going to make it dashed, apply that, and that will give us a little bit more. Or we can also make it a little bit transparent as well by taking the opacity down. So that is the basics of using polygons, points, and lines. I hope that helped you out. We'll be going into more detail in the next tutorial. So thanks for watching, and give us a like if you enjoy this type of thing, and any questions in the comments. Thanks.